Hello there and welcome back to the Net Report. Chris here, and the playoffs are here, and they are in full swing. We are in the middle of what is shaping up to be one of the best first rounds we have seen in a while. We've seen buzzer beaters, close games, upsets, and more. So I'm here to look at each series and give one major takeaway from each playoff matchup and just discuss what has stood out to me so far throughout each series of the first round. First, we probably have the most entertaining series so far in the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets, and my biggest takeaway is that this series needs to and will more than likely go 7 games. As of the recording of this video, the series is tied 2-2 and has just been incredible with multiple insane finishes. We of course saw the Denver Nuggets sneak game 1 in overtime off the back of Nikola Jokic, who has just been incredible this series, averaging a triple-double, 28.5 points per game, 13.5 rebounds, and 10.8 assists per game. Shooting 54% from the field and 48% from 3, Jokic has just been the engine and the driving force of this team. He has been the one constant source of offense, even when the Nuggets have really struggled, and they've needed every bit from Jokic just to keep this series in striking distance. You of course had the Clippers bounce back in Game 2 off a legendary Kawhi Leonard performance, posting 39 points on crazy efficiency. He could just not miss, hitting multiple threes, fadeaway after fadeaway, and it really feels like throughout this series we are seeing the return of vintage Kawhi Leonard, that 2019 Kawhi Leonard we saw win a championship with Toronto. After that, the Clippers took Game 3 off a blowout win with just an all-around great team performance, which has been the story for a lot of this series, just how great the entire team is playing. Kawhi, as we mentioned, has been incredible throughout this series. James Harden is having his best playoff series he's had in a while, averaging 21 points per game and almost 10 assists. Zubac, all things considered, has done a pretty good job on Jokic holding his own, not getting too exposed on the defensive end and the switches, while manning the paint for the Clippers. He's also been a beast, averaging 18.5 points per game and 11.5 rebounds per game. They have also had other scoring threats come out when needed. Nicholas Batum and Norman Powell both averaging 40% from 3, great catch and shoot guys. Perimeter defenders like Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. have really helped this defense come together, and everything has just really come together for this Clippers team, and it is why many people see the Clippers as a dark horse and a potential finals contender. And finally, Denver took Game 4 off probably the most insane buzzer beater I have ever seen, with Aaron Gordon barely beating the buzzer beater by maybe a millisecond, dunking the ball after the Nikola Jokic desperation shot. It was really just an insane buzzer beater, and it might have saved the series, because if Denver doesn't hit that shot, they're down 3-1 and they may be on the verge of elimination. Denver, of course, has had contributions throughout these 2 wins from the rest of their team in Michael Porter Jr., Christian Braun, Jamal Murray. However, it has been sporadic, and for Denver to really win this series, they're going to need a little bit more consistency, especially from Jamal Murray, who will have to be at his best for Denver to win this series against a loaded Clippers roster. Overall, this series has been incredible though, and I don't see how this doesn't go 7 games, which I think as NBA fans we all deserve. And no matter who wins, I think it's fair to say both have a chance to give OKC a real run for their money next round. Next, we have another insane series in the Knicks versus Pistons, where the Knicks just took a commanding 3-1 lead in a very controversial way. It appeared Tim Hardaway Jr. was fouled as he went up for a shot in the final seconds. However, it went uncalled, leading the Knicks to take a 3-1 series lead. And my biggest takeaway from this series is just how impressive Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham have both been. Jalen Brunson has been insane throughout this series, averaging 33 points and almost 9 assists through 4 games, and he has basically been that whole Knicks offense. Karl-Anthony Towns has also been incredible, averaging 23 points per game on 53% shooting from the field. And this Knicks team is really going to need Jalen Brunson to shoulder this load, especially at this level, to make a deep run in this playoffs. And despite other teammates having a slightly disappointing series, he has really been able to put this team on his back. And if the Knicks want to go far in this playoffs, they're really going to need Brunson to be as incredible as he's been. On the other hand, the Pistons have also been very impressive despite being down 3-1. Cade has been willing this team's offense, averaging 26 points per game, 9 assists, and this young team has just been super scrappy, especially on the defensive end. I think we all knew on paper they did not match up well with this Knicks team, but they have had solid contributions all around. This series is a lot closer than the 3-1 series would indicate, and it very easily could be tied 2-2 right now. It is difficult to see this Pistons pulling a 3-1 comeback on this experienced Knicks team. However, I do expect them to fight and extend this series just due to how scrappy this young group of guys are. Moving on to the next series, we have the OKC Thunder versus the Memphis Grizzlies. And my biggest takeaway is this might have been the last time we've seen this iteration of the Grizzlies with John Morant, Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bane. The Thunder absolutely manhandled them this series, sweeping them 4-0, and it looked like they had a chance in Game 3, leading the Thunder by upwards of 30 points before the half. And then the John Morant injury happened off a dangerous play from Lou Dort, and that just changed the direction of everything for the Grizzlies. They ended up blowing that lead, and we all know the series was over after that. Shout out to the Grizzlies for fighting though. They had a close game in Game 4, but this is just another year that the Grizzlies have disappointed, and it would not surprise me if they made some major changes to this core to try and shake things up and get over that hump in a very tough Western Conference. They are still young and don't have to hit that panic button yet, but this trio of Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, and John Morant may have reached its peak, and they may need some big changes to really get over that hump and compete in a tough Western Conference. Next, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat, and I have even less to say about this series. It was just a complete slaughter. It just ended in a 4-0 sweep with the Cavs demolishing them by 55 points to clinch the series win. The Heat, since the Jimmy Butler trade, just simply do not have the firepower to keep up with this Cavs team, with most of these matchups being complete blowouts. The Cavs handled their business similar to the way the Thunder did, and they looked just like a well-oiled machine. They didn't need superhuman efforts from Donovan Mitchell to achieve this. It was really just a whole team effort in each of these blowouts. They even did this without Darius Garland for the last 2 games of the series, so they seem ready for prime time, and they will have extra time to rest before round 2, which is huge for them, especially when they're going to be taking on teams like the Pacers, the Celtics in future rounds. They're definitely showcasing they are to be feared throughout these playoffs, and really shout out to the Cavs for taking care of business. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics, who just took a 3-1 series lead over the Orlando Magic, and this series has been a tough and physical series on both sides. Boston has dealt with injuries throughout this series, with Jason Tatum missing Game 2 and Drew Holiday missing both Games 3 and 4. And my biggest takeaway is they just need to survive this series and stay healthy. They have had some moments of offensive stagnation that has led to some concern. A lot of it, to be fair, has been just some insanely good Orlando Magic defense. However, they've had many possessions end in bad shots, iso ball, and I do worry against a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers, these issues could be too much to overcome. Despite some concerns for the team, Jason Tatum still had an insane series, capping it off with 37 points in Game 4. Jaylen Brown has also been incredible this series, and they're really going to need both of them to be on their A game for them to be able to get past teams like the Knicks and Cavs, especially if they're dealing with small injuries to like Drew Holiday and so on. As long as they stay healthy, they will have a great chance to repeat. However, they just need to survive this series and get out injury free. As for the Magic, shout out to them for putting up a fight. They still have a chance to extend this series, but they aren't going to win the series, let's just be honest. And they really need to just surround Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner with some more talent and shooting. The KCP acquisition has just been a disaster and it blew up in their face. And this offseason is going to be very massive for them in their future, especially with them having to pay Paolo and Franz very soon. On to the next series, we have the Pacers up 3-1 against the Milwaukee Bucks, and my biggest takeaway from this series is the Damian Lillard injury is just absolutely devastating, and may be the end for the Bucks and Giannis in Milwaukee. It has been confirmed it is a torn Achilles for Damian Lillard, meaning he will miss the rest of the playoffs, and likely all of next season as well. And while the pairing of Giannis and Dame has been disappointing for the most part this far, it really sucks that we were not able to really see them compete in the playoffs at all together. Just 2 years after the experiment started, we may have already seen the end of the Damian Lillard and Giannis experiment, and it is very possible that we see Giannis ask out of Milwaukee sooner than later, with the Bucks having really no assets to build around him. It is just upsetting because Giannis has absolutely carried this team. He's been the face of their franchise, and he's likely going to see another early elimination in the playoffs. As for the series, the Pacers once again are showcasing why they are one of the best offenses in the league. They're just the better team, especially without Dame on the Bucks, and the Bucks simply cannot keep up with them, especially on the defensive end. I am interested to see how they fare against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the next round, because that's going to be a huge test for them. But so far, shout out to the Pacers for handling business. Moving on, we have the Warriors, who just took a 3-1 series lead over the Houston Rockets in a nail-biter. And my biggest takeaway is this Rockets offense just simply cannot keep up. The Rockets scored below 100 points in the first 3 games, only eclipsing that in Game 4, which they still ended up in a loss. A lot of this is just due to inconsistent scoring. The Jalen Green experience has truly been wild, scoring 7 points in Game 1, 38 points in Game 2, 9 points in Game 3, and 8 points in Game 4. The Warriors, on the other hand, have just been playing great team basketball, and this is what championship-level experienced teams do. They overcame the Jimmy Butler injury in Game 3, found a way to get a win there, and Draymond helped clamp down Sengun in the final moments to sneak out of Game 4. Steph has also just been on a heater for parts of this series, dropping 31 points in Game 1 and 36 points in Game 3. And despite being the 2 seed, it is looking like the Rockets will fall to the more experienced Warriors, which I think many of us expected, and Houston will just have to build off this and gain this valuable playoff experience. They're still a young team, so there is no need to panic. However, the inconsistencies in the offense has been a massive disappointment, and Houston will definitely need to address that in the offseason. And lastly, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves taking a surprising 3-1 series lead against the Los Angeles Lakers. And the biggest takeaway here is we may have disrespected and underestimated the Timberwolves. They of course just took a commanding 3-1 series lead, and this was off the back of probably Anthony Edwards' best game of his career, dropping 43 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and completely controlling the pace and tempo of this game. And he has just been phenomenal this series, really showcasing himself as a playoff riser. I also want to give a shout out to Julius Randle, who has just throughout his career been a playoff choker. However, this series has been really the opposite, averaging 22 points per game, playing very solid defense, forcing turnovers. He has been a huge part of this series, and the Timberwolves would not be up 3-1 right now if it was not for him. Jaden McDaniels has also been incredible, averaging 20 points per game, playing some amazing defense. Honestly, he's been their 3rd best player, and that's been huge for the Timberwolves, him elevating his game come playoff time. And even despite Rudy Gobert not having the best series, being pretty much unplayable at certain times, Chris Finch and this Timberwolves team has found a way to really control this series, and I didn't think many of us expected that heading into the series at all. As for the Lakers, I am not going to declare this series over because, well, they still have LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Anything is possible, and I would not write off a 3-1 comeback, but it is becoming clear that this roster is just not built for playoff success. The lack of not really having a real big man has been exposed, with Jackson Hayes being unplayable throughout the series. They also don't really have any depth, leaving Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves to be absolutely gassed out there. This in turn has led to poor defense, with Luka and others being constantly exploited on the defensive end. JJ Redick has had so little faith in the bench. He played the same 5 guys in the final 24 minutes of Game 4, showing how little faith he had in that bench, and it's just not a recipe for success. And it's no wonder the defense was terrible to end the game, and they're down 3-1 now. LeBron has done it before, being down 3-1, so I'm not going to say this is impossible, but I would be pretty surprised if they pulled off this comeback given the lack of personnel the Lakers have. But shout out to the Timberwolves, they have definitely impressed, and they're showcasing why they're one of the best dark horses out in the West, and they could truly be finals contenders this year. And there you have it. That's a brief look and one major takeaway regarding each series of the first round of the NBA playoffs. Please let me know in the comments section, what is your biggest takeaway from each series, and how do you think the rest of round 1 will shape up? If you enjoy this type of content, please hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date with our content. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks once again for tuning in, and have a great one.